All right, guys, here's another art lesson for you. Today we're going to do something kind of fun and different. We are actually going to make just fun little t-shirt pillows, like mini pillows. So I'm going to kind of show you what this one is going to look like when it's done. It's kind of a cool little... Okay, so anyways, I'm going to show you what you're going to need, and after I show you, then you're probably going to want to pause, and you can do this project later if you'd like. Okay, the first thing that you're going to need is an old t-shirt that somebody in your family doesn't want anymore, preferably one that maybe has kind of a fun design on it. Maybe your mom or your dad has an old t-shirt that doesn't fit them anymore and they don't use it, and so if it's okay with them, don't cut anything up that is not okay with them. So you're going to need an old t-shirt, scissors, a marker, a ruler if you have one, or a straight edge, and I actually used a magazine. And I'm going to show you how that works, okay? That's for you, Brady. Okay, so you're also going to need a needle and some thread, and that's going to be something you're going to have to get a little bit of help with because I don't want anyone to get poked. And you're also going to need a few little straight pins. Okay, all right, let's get started. Okay, so with your t-shirt, this is what I did, and it worked quite well. Let me move my needle and thread. Okay, so what I did was you're going to want to lay your t-shirt out and try to make sure that you flatten the front and the back because you're going to need both layers. And then I just took my magazine and put it right on top of the design, kind of like that. And then what you can do is just take your marker and trace around it because that's not going to show anyway. So I'm going to trace around with my marker. Make sure that you hold on tight to your magazine so that it doesn't move. Although if your pillow ends up not being exactly perfectly rectangular, that's okay too. Okay, so now you've got something that looks like that. So that worked out quite well. The next thing that you're going to want to do is grab your scissors and go ahead and cut this out. This is a restaurant up in Elk Rapids where my parents live. Some of you, maybe you've been there before. It's called Pearls. And like I said, this is going to be just a small, cute little pillow. Use it for whatever you want. Just maybe use it to decorate your bed. I got the idea from a little tiny pillow that my daughter Sophie has in her room. It's even smaller than this. Plus, I thought it would be fun to do something different than working with paper this week, just for a little bit of a change. Okay, and then I'm going to move my scraps out of the way. Now, one other thing that you're going to have to be thinking about, and I'm still thinking about mine too, is later we're going to want to stuff our pillows. Only we don't want to use paper this time. We want them to be soft and cushy. So if you absolutely can't find anything, maybe you have some old pillow and you can cut it open, of course, with permission from your mom or your dad or your grandma or whatever, and you can pull the stuffing out and use that. Or you could even use the scraps from part of the t-shirt that's left, okay? So that's something that you're gonna have to kind of figure out later. All right, now as you can see, this is called the right side, this is called the right side. So this is actually gonna be the back of the pillow, so that's gonna be kind of cool. But what you wanna do is you wanna put the right sides together so that you can't see them when you sew, because then you're going to sew most of the way around your pillow, and then you're going to turn it the right side out, then you stuff it, and then you'll finish sewing. It's kind of like, you know how when we made our ugly dolls and we left a section wide open so that we could get our hands in there and stuff? That's why we need to do this. So back to this little guy. I'm going to open this back up. As you can see, I already did some of the sewing. I started and I started down here, maybe went all the way around to about here. So I've left this whole section open because I have to figure out what kind of stuffing I'm going to use. But now I'm going to show you about the sewing, okay? Because you used something really straight to cut your fabric out, I'm going to use my ruler now to give myself a guideline. If you look on this, you can see there's that blue marker. And again, that doesn't show when you turn your pillow right side out. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to put it pretty close to the edge, maybe about a ½ inch. And you're going to you can measure if you want, but you can eyeball it. That's what I like to do. So I'm going to go about this far. I'm going to move my fingers out of the way, but don't move your ruler. And I'm going to draw myself another line. These will be your guidelines for sewing. So I'm going to go like that. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Notice I'm going about down a ½ inch from here. That's a little less than a ½ inch, but and then turn your fabric. I find that it's helpful to turn your fabric when you're drawing lines, because I like to draw my lines from right to left, maybe because I'm left-handed. So I like to turn whatever I'm working on so that I can do that. And then I'm going to draw my last line. All right, now next come the push pins. And again, you might want to have an adult help you with this because I don't want anybody to get poked. So you need to make sure that when you're working on this that you're with an adult and that your brother, little brother or sister is not there, because I don't want anybody to grab a pin. But what you're going to want to do is just pin probably the corners. So maybe have your mom help you with that, or your dad. Pin the corners. That way when you're sewing, your fabric will stay together, because if it starts moving a little bit, it's really going to mess things up. And then I also put a pin in the center of the longer sides. Kind of like that. Okay, now we're ready to sew. But again, I wanted to remind you, don't forget you got to leave a section open. And then later, I'll kind of show you how you're going to close up your pillow once you get it stuffed. Okay, so now I'm going to get my needle and thread. I already put thread through my needle because it was really hard, because this needle head is tiny. And then you need to sew a knot at the bottom. And I just grabbed whatever color thread I found. It doesn't really matter. It happens to be brown, so it works well on this t-shirt. It didn't really look that great on there, but doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to start sewing. You can just pick any place on your line. And again, you're going to come up through the bottom, and you've got a knot tied at the end of your thread. You're going to come all the way up, and you need to be very careful not to go near your eyes. And then you come over a little bit, and then you go down, back in. And again, this is a project that you're probably going to want to get a little bit of guidance to get yourself started. Then you move over a little and you go through the bottom again, over, back down from the top. All right, I think I messed up my thread. That's okay. Sometimes when you sew, you have to start over, but okay, so then I'm going to come back. I went down, I'm going to come back up on my line. Some people use a thimble so they don't poke their finger. You're just going to want to be really careful. If this is just not something that you feel comfortable with, don't do it. This project, just like any other art projects or anything that we're doing right now for school, I want everyone to always feel comfortable with. So if this just doesn't look like one of the art projects for you, then don't worry about it. Okay? I don't want anyone to feel bad. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I've got a little bit of this done. I'm going to go back over to my other t-shirt because I have more done, and that way. But what you're going to do is you're just going to sew through the bottom, up, over, down, back up, over, down, and you're going to go all the way around, and then you're going to leave a spot open. Okay, so now I'm going to switch back to my other t-shirt. So, as you can see, and when you're done sewing or as you go along, don't forget to take these push pins out and set them somewhere in a very safe spot so that nobody else can get to them. I don't want your little brother or your sister to be able to reach them. In fact, if I were you, I always put them right back in the container. This is my little container. Put that in there and then put that, I'm going to go put mine away because I don't want anyone to get hurt. Okay, so now let's say that you sew all the way around, but you left your spot open. Here's what happens next. Again, you're going to turn your pillow the right side out and make sure that you push your corners out. Just get your hand in there and find that corner. See, that's why you want to make sure those pins are not in the way. And then I'm going to come over and get this third corner best as I can. Now, a lot of people that sew at this point, or even before I turned it inside out, sometimes adults get the iron out and they iron this so it's really nice and flat. But I do not want you to do that. If your mom will do it, or your dad will do it, or your grandma will do it for you, that's fine. But it's really not necessary because it looks pretty good the way that it is. All right, so as far as the stuffing goes, again, maybe I'm going to go grab a little pillow that I have and I'll show you what I mean. For instance, I have this funny little travel pillow that I got one time for when Paul and Sophie and Mr. Zamarip and I were going to go on a car trip. And we really don't use it anymore. So I might cut this open and get the stuffing out of it and use that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I feel a little bit guilty doing this, but oh well. Okay, so then I'm going to take this weird stuffing out, and I'm going to kind of set it on my pillow. It looks like I might be able to just cut this and stuff it right in there. Again, be very careful. I'm going to kind of go part way through. Might be able to just, yeah, I can just pull the rest of that apart. There we go. And the good thing about stuffing is, if that's not exactly the right shape, you can just tear some of it off. So I'm going to try to stuff this in here. I have a little bit of a feeling it might be a little too much. I guess I'll take a little bit off. Okay, let's give this a try and see what it looks like. Not bad. So again, just like your ugly doll, you're going to want to get your hand in there and try to get the corners filled out with your stuffing so that your pillow is shaped nicely. And you know, it's not going to be perfect, but not bad. I probably can add a little more stuffing to this side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now I'm going to show you what needs to be done to seal this up. And again, you're probably going to have somebody thread a needle for you and help you with this. What you're going to do is you're going to have to sew this together kind of like that. You want the edges sort of curled in like that, and because it's t-shirt material, it has a natural tendency to do that. Now I could use my push pins to do this, but I put them away already, and I think that if I kind of use my hands, and you might need somebody to help you close up your pillow, okay? But what you're going to do is take your needle and thread, and you're just going to go through here. And I'm going to take the one that I had. I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So let me cut that off there. And I'm going to tie a knot at the end. Sometimes it takes more than one try. There. Okay, I've got a little knot. All right, so now you need to hang on to this with, now again, I'm left-handed, but I do sew right-handed, so I'm kind of right-handed. I play sports right-handed too, so hold on to it with your left hand and kind of pinch it together. And then I'm going to go through side by side this time. But don't pull it all the way through, because you don't want your knot to go through. Then I'm just going to what's going to end up is the sewing that you're going to do now is going to be more like a spiral. Watch, I'm going to come back over and go back in right next to where and I'm going to pull it again. So it's going to look a little bit rough. It's not going to be like beautiful, but if you find a thread that matches your t-shirt better than this does, it won't show. It'll look nice. So I'm just going to keep going around and around, in through the front, tighten to the back, then bring your needle back to the front again, go through to the back, tighten, come back to the front. It's kind of like if you ever had stitches. This is sort of like stitches. And you're going to just keep sewing like that until this whole seam is closed. And then you're going to have a really nice pillow. And this is another tip. Whatever t-shirt you are allowed to use to cut up, try to have a soft one, because boy, this one's really soft. But I do have to admit, this other one that used to be Paul's t-shirt, it's not as soft. But whatever you're allowed to use will work just fine. So I'm going to do a little more sewing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better. Focus. There we go. So I'm in the back. I'm going to come back over to the front, go through to the back, pull, come back to the front, move over a little, go through both thicknesses to the back, pull, bring it back to the front. It's kind of like your spiral notebook, if you think about it. You know, the metal part, that's kind of what you're doing. Through to the back, bring it back to the front. And if you keep going, it's going to look like that all the way down. Pretty nice. Okay, then when you get, let's pretend I went all the way down to the end. And this is another thing that you might need a little help with. You're going to cut close to the end of the needle, and then you're going to need to take your thread, separate, tie a knot. And I'm going to go around and through twice. Pull it tight, and then I'm going to do it again. That way I've got a really good tight double knot, and then I can trim the thread close to the edge. I'm going to pull that tight, and then I'm going to take my scissors. And remember, we're pretending that this is all the way to the end and that your entire seam is closed. Okay? And that's what you end up with. A really nice little pillow. Just something different. All right, well, good luck. Don't forget, if you want to post your pillow on Padlet, that would be great. And I'll see you next week.